I dare any of you to stick to something 1,000 times, to run an experiment 1,000 times. That difficult conversation in your life where you are trying to get to what the truth is and how to say it to your boss or your partner or whoever, I dare you to have that conversation 1,000 times. Usually we'll try once or twice or 3 times or not at all. We'll wait till we feel certain, sure, clear, everything is in order, and then maybe we'll try. And then we'll try a little bit, and then if it doesn't exactly respond the way we want, or they don't, or we don't feel good, we back off and we don't try again. I dare you. And I just want to speak briefly about this idea, the courage to be you. And this is what it really all boils down to. The OG spiritual principle is know thyself. No progress happens until we tell the truth. But we can't tell the truth until we know the truth. As the Bible said, you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. What it doesn't say is first, it'll piss you off, scare the crap out of you, and destroy you, but then you're free, baby. So you have to know the truth to tell the truth, and you have to tell the truth to have progress, for evolution to unfold. You have to know the yes, and you have to say yes to the yes. So the process of living an authentic and empowered life, being a true thought leader in your life, in the world, in any area, is about knowing yourself enough to know the truth in you that is seeking to emerge. In all the work we're doing at the foundational level, fundamentally, it's been about, and it continues to be about, what am I really made of and made for? Like if an acorn could ask that question and discover its oakness. I'm an oak tree. I'm not a daffodil. I'm not a rose. I'm not an apple tree. No matter how much I want to be an apple tree because people love apples, because my mom really believed I should be an apple. My father thought I should be an apple, and my mom thought I should be a rose, but I'm an oak. And so it's about really knowing ourselves. What am I really made of? What am I really made for? And then being true to that self, being true to that pattern in service of the highest good. Not merely in service of yourself, because then that can easily get into many other unconscious processes and patterns, which we'll talk about in a moment. But first and foremost, you have to be sovereign. You have to know what you're made of and made for. Selfishly, sovereignly, you must know what is that seed of purpose and potential planted in the soil of your soul. And then you must make a sacred vow to be committed to giving it and whatever it needs to flower and to flourish. That is the number one principle of life. It's the only reason why anything in life works in the natural world. Because everything is only being what it is. And it's being what it is in service to a much bigger pattern, because every seed pattern is part of a larger pattern, an ecosystem. So every tree, every plant, flora, fauna, all being true to the seed within it, which is a part of a larger truth or a larger pattern. And when that happens, the whole ecosystem unfolds and blossoms and evolves. We have to know ourselves. We have to know the pattern in us. We have to be true to it in service of a higher good that we may not always fully understand, no matter the cost. That's the thought leader credo, and that's really the principle. Jesus said, take no thought for your life, but seek first the kingdom of heaven within and its righteousness, and all those things you've been worrying about will take care of themselves. All the great teachers and masters in teaching say the same essential thing. There's already an order. There's already a perfect pattern. We can't improve upon it. Who by taking thought could add 1 cubit to their stature? And we can never diminish or destroy it. What God has wrought, no man can tear asunder. Now, these are in religious terms, but it's not a religious idea in terms of religiosity. It's a principle. There's a pattern. And it works when there's nothing in the way of it just being true to itself. And that's what we see in nature. And that's why when we're in the untrammeled nature of life, we are awed and inspired and healed and feel peace. It might even be a storm out there with rain falling, but it can be peaceful because there's a harmony and an order and a perfection that is not a concept. It's not a belief. It's not a story. And so the real evolutionary growth, the evolutionary edge we have to go on as we go through this isn't what's the right outer strategy to make money or win friends and influence others. What's the right modality to put my work together and to put it out in the world? Those have value, but not if they're not grounded in and anchored in and rooted in this. The only reason the greatest thought leaders, artists, authors, coaches, healers, transformational leaders, entrepreneurial brands, the ones that have endured, that we love, that have changed our lives or changed lives, the ones we still talk about, is because somewhere along the way, the individual that first was the instrument of it, they caught something. They caught, you can call it a vision, a feeling, a drive, an impulse, and they had the courage to be true to it. And usually it didn't fit in. It didn't exactly make sense. It was rejected. It was not understood. It might have seemed ahead of its time or out of its time. But they had the courage to dig that well and to touch that well of their being and to be true to it, even when others thought they were crazy, and walk through that gate sometimes of judgment, fear, loss, aloneness, to stay true to something. And then the result was something began to grow, something began to unfold. And those that were part of that something recognized it. Maybe not at first, or maybe just one or two, but then one by one and two by two, hey, that's interesting. And then eventually a tribe grows up around it, a community, a fan base, right? Whether it's Oprah or Harley Davidson or Steve Jobs or Einstein or Thomas Edison or Jesus or Buddha or whoever, it's the same story. When they caught their life code, they caught that deeper purpose, that deeper truth, and they just, whether by grace or by courage, and ultimately you need a little bit of both, and a lot of courage, they committed to that idea in them. And they knew it was an experiment, right? Edison caught the vision of the light bulb. Some say it was Tesla first. We're not going to get into that. But Edison caught this vision, and he didn't catch it in whole. He didn't catch it perfectly. He failed at it over and over and over and over. Some say 10,000, some say 1,000, but I dare any of you to stick to something 1,000 times. To run an experiment on discovering your life code and your life's work and putting it together 1,000 times. I dare you, let alone 10,000. I dare you, that difficult conversation in your life where you are trying to get to what the truth is and how to say it to your boss or your partner or whoever. I dare you to have that conversation 1,000 times, or in other words, as many times as it takes to know beyond a doubt you have told the truth, you have stood in the truth, and you have been available to the highest good of all. It might take 1,000 times. Of course, it usually doesn't. But usually we'll try once or twice or 3 times or not at all. We'll wait till we feel certain, sure, clear, everything is in order, and then maybe we'll try. And then we'll try a little bit, and then if it doesn't exactly respond the way we want, or they don't, or we don't feel good, we back off and we don't try again. But all the people you admire, all the outcomes in the world you admire, is because somebody had the courage to first and foremost know themselves, know what is the truth within them, know what it is that is emerging in them. They weren't trying to save the world or save themselves. They were serving what is emerging as best they could, not perfectly. In fact, almost always tremendously flawed. But then as they served it, as they listened and they honored it, And they made a commitment to keep listening and honoring, and the try-fail cycle of experimentation. Their vision of what that was in them got clearer and purer, not by sitting alone and waiting, but by iterating, by trying. The child with the impulse to walk, that's their truth. Doesn't make sense. They've only been living in a world of crawling, but there's something they want and they want to get there faster now. And they try getting up and they fall and they get up and they fall and they get up and they fall, but they don't stop. No matter how many times they fall or hit their head or hurt, they may cry and scream and bleed, but they get back up. And they never stop getting up until they're walking. That's the energetic and the frequency of what it means to be a thought leader. To be a thought leader just for your own life. What it means to be in integrity with yourself. To be a person of courage and of character. To have the courage to be you. Now, what comes in the way of that is all the things we're afraid we'll lose. If we are courageous enough to know our truth, be true to our truth, and to tell the truth, we'll get judged. We'll get rejected. That could lead to death. I mean, obviously, that's the ultimate fear. We're afraid of dying. We're afraid of being crucified, assassinated. And if not literally, materially, physically, then our character or, some other dimension of our being. You could say at the most fundamental level, we're afraid of feeling bad. There's only two things that are going on. We're going for a better feeling and we're trying to avoid a bad feeling. And, we think death is the worst bad feeling, right? And being fully alive is the best feeling. Put another way, the worst feeling is absolute and total separation. And the best feeling is absolute and total union or oneness. We start to want to know the truth. We start to want to be true to the truth. And then we bump into a threshold. And it's something like, if I really honor this, they may not like me. They may not get me. They may judge me. They may attack me. They may fire me. They may leave me. And then I'll be sad and alone and broken and broke and die. And so some version of that, right? I'm holding something back in my relationship and, or in my work, and so then we negotiate with our truth, consciously or unconsciously, and we don't fully tell the truth. We don't fully be who we are. We don't run the experiment necessary to discover what is true. By the way, free speech was one of the innovations of human consciousness that allowed us to do that. That's why it's so critical. We can't let it go, because the ability to think was the first way, right? You can think through ideas so that the ideas die and not you. That's the purpose of thinking. So that you can run experiments and the bad or the weak or the wrong ideas can fail and die and not you. And then speech is a way to iterate and experiment with ideas. Hey, I have this idea, I have this opinion. And then, I have this idea and this opinion. And they come together and clash and conflict. And in the midst of that confusion, which means with fusion, a larger or better idea emerges. That's called dialogos, dialogue. And out of that, there's an alchemy and a purification, and a better idea emerges. But you have to be courageous enough to think and to see what you're thinking and feeling, to share, to enter into a dialogue with yourself and then with the other, to discover what is that purification experimentation process, so you get more and more closer to the truth and can be more and more of who you really are. And so wherever you stop that process, I'm going to write this when I'm certain. I'm going to put this out there on the internet when I'm certain. I'm going to share it with my partner or my boss when I'm certain. You will never evolve. You will be stagnant. You will remain stuck. As Benjamin Franklin said, something to the effect, if you sacrifice freedom for security, you will have neither. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? What does it profit a man if he gets all the validation and love and approval and safety, security and comfort and convenience of the world, but loses him or herself? That's not a profit. That's bankruptcy. The journey I'm inviting you on at the deepest level is to have the courage to know yourself, to know the truth, and then to tell the truth, first to yourself, then to another, in service of the highest good. Why in service of the highest good? Because you have to stand powerfully in your truth, but then you also have to be completely curious. Not just my way or the highway. That is the masculine gone amok. That is rigidity. That is tyranny. Sovereignty without unity is separation and tyranny. But it's also not just your way and doesn't matter what I think. That's the feminine gone crazy. Unity without sovereignty is codependence. It's no sovereignty and no agency at all. And so there's no place for the divine to come through you. It's all about everybody else. Either you're blaming them or you're taking care of them, but you're completely stepping over your truth. It needs to be both. My truth and your truth coming together without either of us sacrificing our truth, but either of us trying to crush the others or stepping over. That's also what the first two commandments mean. Love God with all your heart and soul and might, which is the truth of your being, and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said these are the only two commandments you need. Love the truth within you with all of your being. Be a complete devotee to it, complete covenant with it. That's your number one job. And now as you do that and the truth emerges and you share it with the world, you share it with your spouse or your whoever, now love your neighbor as yourself, which means now I'm in service of understanding their truth without ever sacrificing mine. Sovereignty and unity. And in that dance of sovereign unity, that is the Tao. That's the frequency or the energy or the cycle that produces creation. It's the sovereign unity. But you can't step over your sovereignty to get there. And you can't crush or avoid the truth of others to get there. You have to have the courage to know yourself and to be yourself, to know the truth and to tell the truth. And then you have to have the courage to now be available to the feedback. And then it's a dance, because you'll notice you start to get feedback and then you just want to crush your truth down, hide, pull away. They're going to fire me, they're going to reject me, they're judging me, they're trolling me, they're hating on me. It doesn't feel good. And then you got to go back to the well of your being. What's the truth? What's the truth? Get the courage. Step back out again. Try it again. Have another conversation. Put your work out there another time. Do a rewrite. This is the process of evolution, of being more and more yourself and putting your work out there. And the key again is you cannot wait to have it all together. You cannot wait to have all your ducks in a row unless you're a mother duck. It's not going to work. They won't follow you. The ducks will not get in a row behind you. You have to have the courage to be you now. What is being you fully now look like? I want to create this thing and know, but I first have to fix all this other stuff and heal myself completely and know all my shadows and feel confident, feel certain, and then, no. What's the truth now that you can act upon? Now, I'm not saying go throw a book out there that's just a piece of crap or just go put posts online that's terrible. You know what I'm saying, because all of you in some way, shape, or form are hedging your bets and are waiting. You're waiting for me to save you, to give you the answer. Even when I'm answering your question to 10 different people, I get to you and you ask me the same question. So you're waiting, or you're waiting to feel good about it, waiting to feel confident, waiting to feel certain, waiting to not be scared. And I'm telling you what I know when I tell you, you will be waiting forever. You're not going to be confident. You aren't going to be doing it perfectly. You are going to make a mistake and a mess. But that's the only way to get it out there. You cannot learn to walk without falling and falling and falling and falling and getting hurt. You can't learn to do it without it. You will not get good at what you want to be and do without just doing it and being it and making a fool and making a mess and looking stupid and looking bad and feeling bad and picking yourself back up and brushing yourself off and bandaging yourself up and then taking the feedback and iterating and doing it again. And so there's lots of ways to do that here. Don't just listen to stuff and do nothing, but make sure that action has something to do with progress, not regress. That it has something to do with a vehicle with a windshield, not a giant rearview mirror. And then take the action and then go into the Facebook group, share your journey, ask for feedback, give feedback, meet with an accountability partner, choose one if you don't have one, set up goals, and then do them. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be right. You just have to get going. Write a bad draft of your screenplay. Write a terrible song. Paint a shitty picture. Paint 10 of them. By the time you get to 10 shitty pictures, they won't be so shitty. You might have to write 100,000 words before you start writing some good ones. But how are you ever going to get to 101,000 if you don't write the first 100,000? You won't get there by waiting. You have to be moving. Find something to do today. Take action. You haven't learned anything if you don't live it. Don't just believe it. Faith without works is dead. If you're a writer, get to writing some pages as fast as possible. If you want to be putting out videos, get to creating videos as fast as possible and be figuring out what your life code and framework is as you create content and share what you're passionate about and afraid of. And you're learning the way a child learns. You're growing the way nature grows. It doesn't wait. It listens, it feels, it honors what's there, and it expresses. So that's the courage to be you. That's the essential ingredient to be the hero or the heroine in your story. And you can also pick other areas in your life that aren't even related to your specific life code or life's work. Like I'm working with this is why this is so passionate. I'm dealing with some projects now with my publisher and producer and director of my movie. You know, in many areas of my life, I've gotten really good at telling the truth. And even in those areas I am. But I'm being put up against some even bigger challenges where I have to be willing to stand in the truth, to tell the truth, but to stay open and collaborative and curious, not righteous or defensive, to discover what is the larger truth. There's a sense that it could mean, leaving a publisher, leaving the producer, letting something not happen, not making money over here, or it costing me more money over here, or losing something over here. And again, I practiced this in many ways for a long time, but now it's like there's even more stakes. And whenever there's more stakes, there's a greater opportunity to grow. So this is up for me as well, as deepening my capacity. And I'll tell you, to the degree I've been able to do that, even if it looks like I lose something in the short term, it costs me money or lose money or people don't like me or whatever, in the longer term or mid to longer term, I get elevated to a higher position in my life. And suddenly I have more authority, not authoritarianism, but true authority, a real capacity to influence. And I do not have to demand respect, I command it. It's not an ego thing. Because I've got the courage to be willing to die and lose out in service of the truth of me, the courage to be me, to die daily. If you try to save your life, you'll lose it. But if you lose your life for my sake, you will have life eternal. The my sake isn't a man 2,000 years ago. It's the truth within you. It's the divine within you. Take a breath and just take a moment and look at your current situation with you're in this program and in this process, and there's something you're wanting to do or create. There's a next step you need to take. Where are you in that process? Wherever you are, what's next? Practically, for real. And it's not just, and be very mindful of this, I have to work out my core wound fully and completely and know exactly which one it is. And is that really the most important next step? Maybe, if you are just clueless, but scratch the surface, because maybe you do have enough information where you can take the next step. I always say, don't get it right, just get it written. And so part of this courage is I have enough of an understanding of kind of some of my core issues. I have enough understanding, if I've done the work, of kind of the general story. What if I just let that be enough and I move to the next step? Now, what is it that I want to create? Is it a book? Is it a program? Is it a workshop? Who do I want to help? Well, I want to help people, love themselves more. Okay, I want to help people in this way. I want to be an artist and create this kind of art with this kind of meaning. Okay, so write that down. That's the next step. What's the way I most want to do that? What's the vehicle? How do I want to express that art or that message? Well, I want to do it like this. This or this. Okay, pick one. Okay, I want to do it as a book, or I want to create an art show, or I want to help people design their homes or design their lives from this consciousness or these values. Okay, so start, writing down what that vision looks like and what you want to do and how you want to do it. Now, what's the next step? What you'll start to understand is, as you go forward, as you let the energy flow through you, you start to have the answers you were waiting for on the way forward, rather than waiting for all the answers. If you just write that idea, write that book, write that speech, or at least write the outline without having to get it perfect, and then go back and kind of review it. And then, as I said in the last call, I think it was one of the calls, is you can then put it all into ChatGPT and say, help me out, help a brother out, help a sister out. Pour all the stuff in there, your aspirations, what you want it to be, what you're afraid of, and say, now, give me an idea, give me another draft of this, or give me some feedback. What do you think? You're moving now. You're getting ideas, and you'll notice that joy is the activation of progress. You want more energy, use the energy you have in service of something that you want. You want to be confident? Act like a confident person was, and you'll activate confidence. Do the thing. Don't just think about it. And you'll begin to activate a sense of self-esteem and even trust. Oh, hey, I can trust myself to do the thing. I may not yet fully trust myself in being great at it, but I'll do what I say I'll do. That builds trust. And then you'll do more, and that builds competence. And then it starts to get kind of interesting, and that builds confidence. And then you end up in a positive recursive loop. Confidence, competence, confidence, competence. But you gotta be moving. This is my big message. The courage to be you today, not tomorrow. Not when it's comfortable or convenient or safe or certain. There are no certainties in the world of experience. You are held by a certainty. You are held by a wholeness. But exactly how it's going to unfold is not guaranteed. But it is guaranteed, if the acorn does not try to become an oak, it's going to become squirrel food, right? So you got to try. You got to go. You got to live. Who else do you want to be? Like, just take the next piece, and then the next piece, and then the next piece. What's the skin over that? What's the vehicle and the way you want to do that? I do that through visual arts online, or I do that through a healing modality, or I do that through a book or a workshop. And how do you know best what might be your best way to do that? You can say, well, what's the best way that I've been taught, grown, or inspired? And you'll start to see in your journey, it's already been imprinted in you. What is probably the best place to start, because you've already got the neural pathways for it. So if you've learned so much through reading and books, it might be a book. If you've learned so much through audio, it might be audio or audio and video. If you love architecture and design, and that's been your whole journey of being inspired by spaces, and you see so much more in it, then it might be, creating and using space as a thing for it. But then you choose, how do I want to deliver this? the big idea you're seeking to overcome to prove that you're enough or you're not too much, what we went through. And then you have the impact statement, which is I'm here to help people fundamentally to heal that core idea. And then the way I want to do that is through art or music or coaching or teaching or healing or architecture or design, whatever. Do it without overthinking it. You can always go back, but kind of lay that out. Now, every single one of you, and I'm telling you what I know for sure, could complete all of those steps in the next 30 days or less if you commit to it. And if you put it on your calendar, goal, you need a goal. If you don't know where you're going, everything's going to get you lost. Plan, if your goal and vision is not a plan, it's a fantasy. Calendar, if it's not on your schedule, it's wishful thinking. All the unconscious things and everybody else's agenda is going to take over. Now, I can only tell you this, I can't make you do this, but if you're not getting the result, I can tell you you're not doing this. I guarantee it. And you're not doing it because you're bumping into one of these thresholds and you're getting scared, you're not feeling good, and you're telling yourself a story that rationalizes you not doing the work. It's that simple, even if it's that difficult. You know the steps because I'm giving them to you right now again. You've got everything you need. And when you start to do it, you're going to bump into overwhelm, confusion, doubt. And you have to remember, that's why I say this over and over, because there will come a day, if you stick with me, where you won't be able to not remember this. And then when you feel shitty and you feel overwhelmed and you feel scared and you feel confused, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, just do the thing. Just write the next page. And now you are a person of courage, a person of character. You're a true leader, at least in your own life to start. And you've embodied something real. And again, remember, every single one of those steps, what's stopping you, blocking you, if you scratch the surface, is the core of your wound, of your life code, just recapitulating. So you can always peek under the hood and see and remember, oh yeah, that's my pattern. And it might have some interesting things to say, but you take the next step anyway. Make sure you know where you're going. When we're spinning, it's because we haven't made a decision. If you know that your first thing is just write an impact statement, and then you sit down to write it and you hit a threshold. You're afraid, you're confused. Okay, hello fear, hello confusion. I'm still gonna write the impact statement though. It might be really shitty. I am a transformational coach, blah, blah, blah. I suck, Derek sucks. You might start off writing a really bad impact statement. Then maybe you'll laugh about it. But if you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter that you don't feel like it. In other words, you can still do it. And I've tested this many, 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 many times. I've called the person up. I don't know, I feel all this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, I hear you. I feel paralyzed. Okay, do you need some adrenaline? Should I call a paramedic? No, haha. Okay, now take your pen or your finger on the keyboard and write an impact statement. Oh, I know, but I'm not sure. I know, I get it, totally, past, I get it. Do it anyway. But still, I know, just do it. Okay, and within a few minutes, 5 minutes, they've written something like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then and what else do you want? Well, maybe this. And, oh yeah, and this too, I forgot about that. And oh God, I didn't think of this. And 5-10 minutes later, they've got an impact statement, they're inspired. From no fucking way to, I got an impact statement I'm inspired about in 10 minutes. And all I did was, totally, I hear you, you're scared, you're confused. Come back. How do you train a puppy? Sit. Come here, sit. Good boy. Come on now, Spot, sit. Eventually the puppy will stay. So you have to be that with yourself, lovingly. Don't kick the puppy, don't kick the dog and throw it out the window. Stick to the thing. If your goal in the moment is you've booked out an hour to work on this, that's what you work on. If shadows come up, hello shadow, Oh, how you doing today? You need a cup of tea? Here, an iPad with a little game. Here, go sit in the back seat and get back to the goal of the moment. If I'm working on this book and a whole bunch of other ideas for books come up, I'll write them down real quick and come back. I don't go, ooh, why do I have these ideas? Maybe I should write this book instead. I would never finish. It's hard to fulfill yourself, but I'm not asking more than is possible and not even close. Like, not even close. If you really want this, what I'm doing is creating a structure that will force you to become a better version of yourself, to have no more fucking excuses. This is about you honoring you no longer putting up with the bullshit excuses that you give yourself for why you can't be who you want to be and have the life you want to have. And for so many of you, you've been doing this for months and months or years and years. And so I'm trying to create the frame, which is absolute love, but it can also feel like tough love. Remember, all that's going on is life supporting you to be who you really are. But if you're not being who you really are, or if you're trying to be something you're not, your experience is going to be that life is against you. It's too hard. It's not fair. I don't have time. I don't have. All of those are symptoms that you're not in integrity. That's not a judgment. It's a literal mathematical or architectural or engineering principle. You're not in alignment with yourself. You're doing a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't be doing. That's why you don't have time. Well, but I have to work a job. I understand. So get up earlier, go to bed later, say no to some friends, turn off the TV. Trust me, you're not busier than most people that have accomplished big things in this world. And you're not more sick or more tired than Stephen Hawking was when he literally couldn't move a muscle of his body and became one of the most important scientific minds of our generation. I have no sympathy. I have empathy. But I'm not going to vibrate with your level of story. I'm going to hold you in the truth of who you are and invite you into more of yourself. And you will find a way if you want it. I'm making it just easy enough that you're not going to hurt yourself, but just hard enough that you're going to have to change. Remember, the purpose of a goal is it's something you can't do yet, but you want it. And it will require you to die to your old patterns, beliefs, opinions, perceptions. So if you really want this certification and you're like, oh my God, I have no idea how to do it, great, commit to it. And you will have to change.